Welcome to Tell You Later, the show where we guarantee a laugh or your money back.
Thanks to all those who support us on Patreon. By the way, there's always room for more.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to their channel.
We haven't got a title song for this show, so we're singing this thing instead.
Okay.
It's really just a substitute. Nonetheless, the melody may stay in your head.
Oh, I hope so.
'Cause it's a tune.
It's a tune.
You'll love to croon.
You'll love to croon.
But there's one thing you should know. We have to confess we do not possess a title song for this show.
Ain't it peculiar?
Believe it or not, we haven't got a title song for this show.
Oops. All right, so welcome back to the Tell You Later show, and this is part 2 of my interview with fabulous Lindsay Yazzolino. Is that like Italian? Yazzolino?
Yazzolino, yep.
All right. Do you speak Italian?
Oh, no, I do not. I went to Italy for the first time last year, which was amazing, but no.
Oh, wow. Where'd you go?
I speak some Spanish, and I even learned a little Portuguese, and I really want to learn Japanese because I'm part Japanese as well.
Oh, no fooling. Cool.
Yeah.
So where'd you go in Italy?
So I went to Milan
Uh-huh.
and Venice.
Oh,
And-
yeah, I went there too a few years ago. I went to Milan to work, but it's so funny because the studio I was working in was in Chinatown in Milan. Did you know they had a Chinatown?
I did not know that. I mean, like, okay, I shouldn't be surprised because I know that, like, around the world, there's a lot of, like, it's really fascinating because a lot of Chinese cuisine has, has made it to different parts of the world. And
Well, this was all Chinatown in Milan, so when I went to the recording studio to work every day, I was pretty much being in the Chinese, surrounded by Chinese. It wasn't very Italian. So before we go on, Lindsay Yazzolino is a tactical technologist, cognitive neuroscientist who works at CVS. She's blind, and she helps. We've been talking about integrating digital stuff at CVS, especially so that people who are blind or visually impaired have access to all the information when they go on the CVS website, right? And even stuff in the store. Am I right so far?
Yeah, that's spot on.
Woo! Hey, see, I was listening. People think I'm not listening, but I really am listening, I have to say. And Lindsay and I met because some friends of her brothers had me do a birthday greeting for her because she is a long-time listener of Adventures in Odyssey, and they figured she'd recognize my voice and get a kick out of it. Is that right?
Yep, that's exactly it.
And you have traveled all over the world, but you have yet to go to Wits End in Colorado Springs.
I need to.
But you live in Texas. You live in Texas, right?
Okay, so really, everyone's like, where do you live? Because there's always time, like, I've traveled a lot. So I live in Boston, but I will be moving to Texas.
You live in Boston.
Yeah.
Is that where you grew
I'm
up?
in Texas now.
Did you grow up in Boston?
Nope. I grew up close to Seattle. So I grew up in a town called Issaquah, a city called Issaquah, which is pretty close to Seattle. And I grew up there. And then I went to the East Coast for college and just kind of things just panned out, and I ended up staying there.
Wow, that's a big trip to go on your own like that. Were your parents a little nervous?
I mean, I'm sure to some degree because, I'm the child, but they were also very happy for me, and I know it wasn't really a surprise for either of them that I would want to end up going somewhere else because I've always kind of been that way.
Were there a lot of blind people in the program you were in at Brown, or were you the only one?
Oh no, I was the only one. The only one. There have been a couple more blind people. There were a couple more blind people who were at Brown. And they both graduated the year I came in.
Oh, same department. I was pretty much
the only one. So
was that the same department too?
That's a good. I think. Let's see. I think they may have taken classes. There may have been some, someone took classes in that department, but I don't think that
It wasn't their
was-
major. That wasn't their main focus.
No, and I wasn't like, oh, let's do this major because it's like blindness related. If anything, I came in, I knew I loved science. I knew the brain was cool and fascinating. I'm like, oh, I'm going to take some classes on this. But then the way Brown is, there's a lot of flexibility as to the classes that you can take.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a whole bunch of classes and different things, and I bounced around a lot. And then it was like, there's a point where it's like, what's your major? And I'm like, ooh, I kind of guess I better figure out what I'm going to be. And
There comes a time when you need to declare your major.
I found this lab that I mentioned before and done some research. I'm like, I think it will be cognitive science after all. So
Cool.
I went and finished that up and then went back to Boston. And I always liked Boston because it was really, there's a lot of stuff going on and it was really high energy, and the public transportation system, you could actually use it, and people just people that who live there just took the trains all over the place, and I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. And then there was just a lot of really interesting stuff going on, people working on different projects, a lot of universities, and good food and all that stuff, and I was like, yeah, this is.
It wasn't Issaquah.
It was not Issaquah. It was not suburbia. It was definitely the city.
Yeah.
And I just, for that time in my life, it definitely felt like.
Well, that is so exciting. I have a question I want to ask you about that before we find out what the heck you're doing in Texas. But I have another voiceover friend who is in a wheelchair, and she was working on like maps, like a online map to tell people where restaurants you could go to that are accessible, and just trying to create, a community of information of where you can go in a wheelchair. Is there stuff for blind people to tell them, oh, you should go here, or don't go here, you're going to fall down the stairs, there's no hand railing, or I don't know. Do they have...
So it's a good question. I think that, there's a lot of different needs, access needs, like for blind people compared to people with like physical disabilities. So for us as blind people, a lot of times, we can go to the same places as anyone else. Just, it's not, a lot of people like are scared when they see us about to go downstairs. And we're always telling people, no, it's okay. We do this all the time. We have, it's a reason we use a cane or a dog or whatever mobility.
Do you have a dog?
I do not have a dog. I use a cane, and it works super well for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've used one since I was little, and you can really walk very quickly with one, and it doesn't have the same like needs that a dog has. So for me, it's great because I can just like walk out and grab the cane and just go do.
So but I imagine there are some places that are a little bit easier to navigate than others, or places where you'd say, oh yeah, you want to go to this place because it's,
okay, so here's a big part of it. I think a big part of it is like how we're treated, so I think that there's been certain kinds of places where I've gone, or even cities, where people just get it more than others, like about blindness,
really?
So people, sometimes you go somewhere and you might go to a restaurant. Yeah, usually it's fine. Like I've been blind forever, so I know kind of how to, speak up for myself.
Like what about reading menus in a restaurant?
Say that again.
If you were reading a menu in a restaurant, is there an app for that?
Some restaurants, exactly. So that's a good example of, some restaurants online, have better, like their website might be better than others. Like so a lot of times if I'm going out to a restaurant, I will either read the menu online, or I will just ask the server to read it to me.
Because
we all, are people friendly? All of that stuff. Are they, welcoming? Of course, all that stuff that would make the experience better or worse. But what's interesting when you asked me that question, I was just thinking about a conversation I had today with a good friend of mine who's also blind, and we were talking about cities in the U.S. like to live in, and for people who are very like adventurous like us, who also like the stimulation of living in kind of an exciting place, but then we also might want some, it's still to be like a place where people can make connections and like be established. Just where people are happy, really happy, and
if you find that happy place, will you let me know, please? I want to go to that happy place.
But it's hard because we were saying, it's hard to find a place like cities in the U.S. that are like super accessible. Like there's only a handful that have really good public transit systems, like Boston and New York and a handful of others. But stuff like that is definitely something where he and I were like, wouldn't it be cool if we did like a podcast or
I think that would be important because there's the ADA, the Disabilities Act, right? What's it called? The American Disabilities Act. Well, we all see the wheelchair ramps and we see the cuts in the curb, but where's there's no mandate. Yeah, you have to be able to get into a restaurant, but what if they had a menu in Braille? To me, that would be part of the American Disabilities Act, and I don't know if that's getting the attention that it needs.
Yeah. I mean, I think, nowadays, because either having it in Braille. I think nowadays, a lot of us just expect to be able to go online and pull up the menu and read it with our assistive technology.
That's
the phone,
good.
I was telling you earlier with a screen reader. Or there's also Braille devices that you can attach. I have one, and you can attach it to your phone. You pair it to your phone with Bluetooth, and then whatever is on the screen also pops up in Braille. Like it's a bunch of little pins that move up and down.
Oh, wow. Whoa, that's crazy.
It's super cool.
So, you can touch your screen and you can feel it. Wait. Time out. Go back. Are you saying you can touch the screen and feel stuff?
Yes, it's a little line. It's a line of Braille, and the Braille pops up and down. And so it's like a bunch of little pins, and they're arranged like a line of Braille.
Holy mackerel. What's that called?
It is called a refreshable Braille display.
Refreshable Braille display. So, if you were in a restaurant and they weren't online and you took a picture of the menu, would you be able to read it with a reader?
So there is actually software that you can use to do that. Optical character recognition, it's called, or a lot of us just say OCR. And you can, there's a lot of apps, and you can do that for free. So there's an app in the App Store called Seeing AI. It's a Microsoft app. And it can do a lot it can scan documents, it can scan text, but some things scan better than others depending on, the font it's in and the lighting and the layout and all that stuff. So sometimes, yes, I could maybe take a picture of the menu, but other times it might still read in a funny way.
If it's a dark, romantic place, you can't do it because there was not enough light.
Sometimes you just, sometimes it's just easier to ask someone to read it.
Well, if you're in a dark, romantic place, hopefully you're with somebody who you like.
Well, yeah, but, that person could be blind, too.
Oh, okay, you're right. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you're not.
And, maybe you don't want to make maybe for that night, I mean, usually, if I'm with a partner that's sighted, they would usually be willing to read stuff, but, I don't want that to be their job too. You know what I mean? It's one thing to be willing to do it, but also I don't want to make my partner read all my stuff for me all the time. I want to be able to have that. I want them to help me with other.
Well, my daughter, she doesn't want it all to be about her diabetes all the time.
Yeah, exactly, and it's And, maybe it's a menu, maybe you're at an Italian, maybe you're at a Spanish tapas place or something. And a lot of the dishes, the names are in Spanish, and your partner just doesn't pronounce Spanish well. And you don't really want to make them stumble through that menu. And it just, so it's better to be able to just have access to that.
On the other hand, it could be highly entertaining.
It could. And you guys absolutely right. Sometimes it can be.
All right, I have to ask you one other question before we find out why you're in Texas. And I don't know if this sounds weird or not, but Have you ever had people like talk really loud at you because you're blind and somehow?
Yeah, they do that. Or they talk in this. So someone I saw on the internet, they've coined this term special voice.
Oh, so
and it's like the way you would talk to like
a 2-year-old?
Yep,
Yeah.
2-year-old or a puppy or
Okay, people don't do that. That's
Don't do
stupid.
it. Just don't do
Just
it.
stop it. Just stop it right now.
Stop.
I have another
You're like a
friend.
baby, like.
I have another friend. Whenever she's with somebody, when we travel, I shouldn't say it. Well, I don't want to call her out. Some people will go to another country or talk and all of a sudden take on the accent of that country in English, thinking they're going to communicate better. I don't know what's up with that either. But okay, so just so you know, blind people can even hear you if you whisper. And you don't have to talk to them like they're 2 years old. Okay. Right? Am I right? Nudge,
Just
nudge.
don't do that. And also the other thing that's really annoying that people do is when they say you're with somebody, right, and they talk to the person you're with instead of talking to you. Like, say you and I went out and we were going to get some food. Say we went to like.
Does Lindsay like donuts?
Yes, exactly. What does she want to eat?
Goodness.
Like, how am I supposed to know? Like people do that. They look at your friend like, what does she want to eat? And it's like, well, why are they supposed to?
Why do you think they do that?
I think there's a couple things going on. I think sometimes people conflate being blind with having other kinds of disabilities. Like, it literally just means my eyes don't work. Like, it's not something.
And
with my
you've done the
brain.
cognitive research to know what the actual effect of being blind on your brain is, and it's not that, right?
It's not that effect.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that too. Like, there's definitely certain interesting things that can happen with your brain when you've always had a blind brain, but also it's not that. And then also I think part of it is the lack of eye contact. I think sometimes people don't know how to, like, it's awkward to be with someone and not know if they they can't see you and you don't know how to get their attention, and that meanwhile there's this person next to them that's just easy to do that.
I think that sounds like a valid observation. That could very well be it, that they're not sure they're actually connecting. So,
Yeah.
So what do you
And
recommend?
it's no excuse. I mean, it's not something people should do, but also it makes sense that that's why that might happen.
So what can help them get over that? If they just say, "Hey, Lindsay," and get your attention, what?
Yeah, or like they might not know my name if they're like the person working the cafeteria line. But they can at least like look my direction and say, "What would you like?" And if I don't respond, chances are like the person next to me knows they're talking to me and can just like whatever nudge me. But it's when they keep doing it that's when it's awkward.
Ouch.
Like, you know, if they usually people get the hint that like.
Do you just want to hit him over the head with a used wrapping paper roll? Bonk. Yeah.
Well, I do have a cane,
That might hurt a little bit.
I know.
more.
I know.
That might hurt a little bit more. Okay, so I think that is really valuable. I had a feeling people do that kind of stuff, and it's like, it's so cringe.
Yeah,
that is so cringeworthy.
It totally is. Yeah, it is. And for me, I'm so used to it. Like, I'm not going to let it always, for me, it's just kind of.
You have to have a lot of grace, Lindsay. You have to have a lot of grace to not go, what the heck's the matter with you?
I mean, I think, if it was the first time it happened to me in my life, now, if it just happened to me for the first time, I would totally be like, what is the matter with you, But I think, for better or for worse, like, because I've known about, like, I've experienced this for so long, sometimes I have to step back because I always, I know it's bad, and I feel like it's very, I mean, I think every blind person I know hates when people do that, but it's also just, I'm so, like, it's weird for me to, it's become so, how do I put this? It's like, I've just become so used to it that
You've been
I was
accustomed
really happy
to
people
it.
just didn't do that.
Yeah.
But then it's interesting when I'm with other people and I'm like, oh wow, there are so many people who've never had to experience this because that,
You know, I'm going to suggest that instead of being, I mean, this isn't impolite, okay? So I'm not saying it's not being polite, but to say, I want you to know that I can hear what you're saying and you can talk directly to me. And in fact, I am a college-educated person. And it's okay, Hey, just don't, and I don't want you to feel awkward. Just know that, I totally get what you're saying. And, I think maybe a little coaching could help people.
Yeah, I think, and that's kind of what I do by example. Like, we're in the lunch line. I'm not going to go into a big thing.
It sounds like you're in a lot of lunch lines. Where do you work? Do they have one at CVS? Like, I've never in a lunch line. What's a lunch line?
An outdated example.
What's a lunch line at college?
It used to happen. I feel like the situations like that, though. Like, if I'm at...
Like Taco Bell or something.
Because, like, if I'm over at MIT, like, sometimes I go to MIT to work on projects.
Oh, yeah, me too. No, just
kind
kidding.
Of have lunch, like, they have certain places where you, like, walk up and order, like, your casual takeout kind of Indian place or your sandwich place, and you go up and you do kind of, it is that sort of situation where you're ordering. It could be a coffee line.
I just want to say you could save a lot of money bringing your lunch. Okay, I'm just going to put that out there. You don't have to go out for lunch every day. Okay,
I know. Yeah, no, I know. But, sometimes you just
got to go out for lunch. We did that today after church. We went out for lunch, so I'm not going to make you feel bad. I'm just saying it's like a mom. You don't have to eat out.
No, I know, and I work from home, so most days I'm just at home eating. But
okay,
yeah,
I'm glad we cleared that up.
Most people are nice, and I think usually once I talk to them, they kind of get the, they figure out who I am, and so usually if someone does that kind of thing, I just speak up and.
So it works itself out, but it can be awkward initially. A lot of times it does.
And I'm, we're talking about these kinds of interactions, but I also have, like, so many great interactions with people. Like, I like they call them, I was listening to this podcast the other day, and they were calling them micro interactions, like, the kinds of interactions you have with, like, the barista at the Starbucks, or the, the person that you pass when you walk down the street, or... And I really like those. I like talking to people and
strangers.
And I've had plenty of, like, lovely conversations with people. So.
That's great. On that note, that's awesome. Tell us about the work you do with public transit accessibility.
So I worked in the public transit system for a couple of years. So what happened is I was doing neuroscience research. I was in academia, and I was ready for something more hands-on and, just something different. And so I went back to Boston, and I lived there a couple of years and spent some more time there when I was in college. So I loved the fact that Boston has a really active, very robust transit system. And I'm a nerd, and I would notice things about the trains. I loved hearing the sounds they made. I would, like, hear the doors closing. I'd be like, oh, that's in the key of G, stuff like that.
Oh, are you a musician? Do you play?
I grew up playing piano, and I've been getting back into playing some more music. I've definitely I was out of practice for a long time and still kind of am, but now I've been learning guitar and starting to play more piano again, and just...
So you're qualified to know what G sounds like?
I do. Okay. I do know. Right. It's I have perfect pitch, so if a note is being, or if someone dials a telephone, I know, like, what.
Did you hear that podcast? I think it was on Radiolab about the...
I love Radiolab!
I
love Radiolab.
Okay.
It's my favorite, the one about Joe and Gracia, and there's a really good book.
Is that the guy who did the telephone and was able to call China because he knew how to imitate the beep sounds with his mouth and dial long distance? And oh my gosh, that was such a cool show.
I love that. And there's a really interesting book. It's called Exploding the Phone, and it's all about people who used to do that.
Okay, so if you guys don't know what we're talking about, there's sounds that, I don't know if it's still the case with cell phones, but back when we had dial phones, the way they would work was sending these notes, kind of sounds, that were send the numbers and would dial things. And I forget how he did it. Anyway, somehow he figured out how to make these sounds and call other countries. And am I saying this right?
Yeah, no, you're explaining it well. Yep.
So he just like, I don't know how he made the sounds, and he could call places, but I don't know why wouldn't he just dial the numbers? I can't remember.
Well, okay, so part of it is you could, if you imitated these sounds, you could...
Oh, yeah, get the international operator. You could get it. You could not get charged for it, right?
Yep. And there were different tones. So you had the tones, like when you dial a phone, at least like an old school phone, and even some cell phones, you can hear them, like there's the tones that we're used to hearing, and they call them DTMF tones. And then there's the tones. So what would happen is when you would call, and it would trigger. So like the telephone switching equipment used a different kind of tone. So what he would do is he would then people were building these devices that would generate these other kinds of tones that the internal systems use.
It's very complicated, but very interesting.
It's
so
super fascinating.
Check it out.
And you know what? I always listen whenever I'm listening, like whenever I'm watching TV and there's like commercials, or if someone's dialing a phone, I'm always paying attention to whether they're actually dialing the number they say they're dialing, or if it's
so
like
you know the sound of the numbers.
I do. Yeah. So it's like I'm like, no, you used the wrong notes, or ooh, you used the right ones.
See, that's like the stuff that you should work in media. I think your next career move is going in and making sure that they represent blind people correctly and the sounds correctly. I mean, there must be somebody doing quality control on that.
I would love to do stuff like that. Like, I would love to do that. And I think about it, like, that's one of the reasons, I appreciate Odyssey so much, is like, there's so much attention to sound. And even then, there have been a couple times where I notice certain things. I'm like, I wish I was there in the studio to point this thing out, Well,
now you can let him know, because everything is social media now. So you can, let me know, I'll tell him.
Like, Wit's End, I always am like, how many times are they replacing phones at Wit's End? Because, like, all these episodes in 1 minute it's one kind of phone, and then there's another episode it's a different kind of phone, and I'm like, man, Wit must be going through a lot of telephones.
Well, now it could depend. They might change it as the years go by and make them sound more modern. I don't know. I haven't really... I don't know.
But it's fun.
That's
it's just
interesting.
Really fun to, hear how much attention is paid to
detail. He used to be a spy, so he's probably changing it up a lot, so they stopped.
I thought about that when you were on your trip, when you were going to Israel, and I'm like, I don't know if you remember the, like, How I Do Is Nothing Great episode.
I don't know if I know that one.
Basically, he was, like, hiding and Connie, and I forget, there was a whole, like...
Is that the name of it? How I Do Is Nothing Great?
Yeah, that was the code, because Wit sent back a tape. This was when Paul Herlinger debuted, I believe.
Okay, when they sent Wit off. Okay, well, we'll look that up. But right now, this show's about you. Okay, so
I know.
So public transit, we got off of that somehow. What did you do to help with the public transit thing?
Oh, yeah, so
We got that you like trains and you could hear the sounds. Okay, continue.
Right, so it just so happened that they were looking for people to help with some of the, that the accessibility department was hiring, and I thought it would be a cool opportunity to learn more about the system and just to get more involved. So I was, among other things, my main role there was to run a quality control program where we sent people with different disabilities off to take the different buses and trains and essentially be like secret agents. So they were like...
Oh, like secret shoppers.
Pretty much, yep. Okay. Yes, exactly. So they would go and take the trains and the buses and be asked to do certain things, like if you're blind, you wait for the bus, making sure that the bus doesn't just pass you, that they actually pick you up. I mean, it's stuff that, like, should be obvious, but there's other things like...
Yeah, or like if they give you the right change.
Oh, yeah. Well, now people just tap their cards, but yeah, that is...
Back in the day when I rode the bus.
Oh, yeah. No, I've totally taken buses where you still have to pay with coins. But yeah, that is definitely one they should do. Also,
so did you
like
fix some things in the system?
Maybe if someone doesn't look like they have a disability, they're still, then they ask for something reasonable, like they ask for the ramp to be put out, or they ask for them to lower the step on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have to do it. They can't be like, well, you don't look disabled, because that's not
busted.
Cool.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Busted, exactly. So
did you? Yeah. Were you able to implement anything when you did that?
So we did. We made sure people, if there were kind of consistent issues, we made sure that we trained people to be better at helping people.
Were the bus drivers open to that?
We did. So it was a lot of. It's more about like the personnel, but also it kind of helped us to figure out when other issues needed to be fixed. Like if there were issues with. So usually when you're on the bus, there's automatic stop announcements. But if there were issues, people were consistently saying like, "Oh, these buses aren't announcing the stops," then we could work with the, make sure that they know that's
not okay.
But then there were other things we did too, where we would, if they were putting in new stop announcements and they wanted some input from us about when the timing of those announcements and who should be, what should be said and stuff like that, we advised the agency on that as well.
That's really great. That's awesome. I think that's so important. So then you left there. You went to CVS, right? For some reason.
I left there and I actually did some freelance consulting for a couple of years.
Oh.
And it was a financially stressful thing to do because Boston is very expensive, but it was also a really exciting thing to do, and I still do it now. So I worked with one of the companies I worked with most is called Touch Graphics, and I helped them make tactile, like hands-on exhibits for museums and other companies too.
Oh, that sounds like
a lot
fun.
of museum work. So when you're blind and you go to a museum, a lot of museums are very boring because it's like glass cases that you can't really feel anything. And museums should be really cool, not just like accessible, but like also just really awesome. So we helped to build some a bunch of things, but one of them was a brain. Actually, it was a model of the brain, and you touch the brain. It was in the Medical Museum in Maryland, the National Museum of Health and Medicine.
Wow.
And you touch the brain, and it tells you what part of the brain you're touching.
Is it a hard brain or a soft brain?
It was a hard brain. It was a hard plastic brain.
Oh, okay.
That's the technology. It just made sense.
I guess,
to do it that way,
because it sounds like a Halloween party otherwise.
I got to touch a couple of actual brains, though.
How fun, she said, not really meaning it.
It was fascinating. It was, Of
course, you thought it was, yeah.
I did. I definitely did, but I could understand,
Some people. Okay, so I before we run out of time, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Lindsay, Astro Access. What is Astro Access?
Well, I'd love to tell you, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to tell you later.
Again?
Tell You Later is a Patreon-driven entertainment show. So what are you waiting for? Come on over. Join us at patreon.com/Tell You Later.
Say, Will, there are words to that tune?
Sure enough are, Westy, and they go like this. My horse likes accordion music. That's his kind of stuff. Yes, my horse likes accordion music. He just can't get enough. So if you don't like accordion music, I'll sympathize with you. But my horse likes accordion music, so I do.